Welcome to Lesson 6 of Module 3, Isolating Quantities. Many real-world scenarios can be described using equations and formulas with multiple variables. For example, look at this piece of your reference table from the SAT Math section. You could find this in your workbook. All of these formulas express either area or circumference or volume, and these are all formulas that are expressed in other variables. For example, the area may be expressed in terms of the radius. It may be expressed in terms of the length and the width. The volume might be expressed in terms of the radius and the height. So what if you wanted to solve for the length? What if you wanted to solve for the width? What if you wanted to solve for the radius? These are all called literal equations. Let's take a look at this example here. If Rx minus St equals R, which expression represents X? So what is this question asking us to do? What they want us to do is take this literal equation. This equation consists of only variables, and they want us to use inverse operations to solve it for X. So I'm just going to rewrite the equation, and we're going to use inverse operations to undo everything that's being done to X. So first what we're going to do is we're going to add St to both sides. St's cancel out, and we get Rx equals R plus St, right? R and St are not like terms, so we can't combine them. So R plus St is literally R plus St. Then what we're going to do is divide both sides by R. The R's on the left-hand side cancel out, and we get X equals R plus St over R. And that's choice A. So it's the same process as solving equations with numbers and only one variable. It's just now you're working with all variables, so your answer is going to have all variables in it as well. Please pause this video and work on the Lesson 6 Level 1 problems in the workbook. In Level 2, we'll look at literal equations that are a little more multi-step. So given W equals V squared T over R, write an expression that can be used to represent T in terms of W, R, and V. So first thing you want to ask yourself is, which variable are they asking me to solve for? So for some reason, whenever the question is written like this, and they ask you to represent T in terms of W, R, and V, from my experience, my students are like, what does that even mean? Well, all that means is they want you to isolate T and have T on one side of the equal sign, and the other side of the equal sign should have the variables W, R, and V. That's all that it means. So I'm going to rewrite our equation. Remember, the goal is to isolate T, so we have to undo everything that's being done to T. So first thing we want to do is get rid of this R in the denominator. So since V squared T is being divided by R, we'll multiply both sides by R, and we get WR equals V squared T. And now all we have to do is divide by V squared, and we get WR over V squared equals T. And that's it, right? It's just your inverse operations, and now our answer is going to be all variables. Please pause this video and work on the Lesson 6 Level 2 problems in the workbook. Here's a Level 3 problem. The formula for the volume of a cone is V equals 1/3 pi r squared h. The radius r of the cone may be expressed as So in this question, they want us to solve for r. They want us to isolate r here. So let's rewrite our equation. Now, the first thing that you always want to do here is get rid of your fraction, right? Let's get rid of that 1/3. So we'll multiply both sides by 3, right? Because 1/3 is the same thing as dividing by 3. So the inverse operation of that is multiplying by 3. And we get 3v equals pi r squared h. So now what we're going to do is we're going to divide both sides by pi and h. You can do this separately if you'd like in 2 different steps, or you can do them in the same step. But r squared is being multiplied by both pi and h, so we need to divide both of those terms out. And we get 3v over pi h equals r squared. So now we have r squared, but we're looking for r. So the inverse operation of r squared is the square root, right? So we're going to take the square root of both sides, and we get the square root of 3v over pi h equals r. So don't be intimidated by these literal equations. I know that students tend to feel like they don't know what to do anymore when the equation is just all variables and not numbers, but it really is the same exact process. You just have to keep in mind that if you're not dealing with like terms, you can't combine them. So you just need to literally write out the inverse operations, including the variables. So don't be intimidated by these literal equations. You already know how to solve equations at this point. So just use those skills that we learned from the beginning and build on them to work on these higher order topics. So that being said, please pause this video and work on the lesson 6 level 3 problems in the workbook. Once you're finished with the problems in the workbook, please stop this video and move on to the next one for lesson 7.